So you have a tree on the ground and there's limbs sticking out everywhere. How do you go about cutting them off so you can move them away? Let's go talk about that. This is Chainsaw Safety with Clemson University, and I am your training instructor, Patrick Wiesel. And today we are going to learn about delimbing trees. When it comes to delimbing trees, you have to think about the stress in the limbs, the tension and the compression. Avoid cutting too deep on the compression side and finish your cuts on the tension side. When it comes to delimbing, there's also a difference between delimbing softwoods, like your pine trees, and hardwoods, like oaks, yellow poplars and such. Softwoods are a lot easier to limb because typically the branches are smaller in diameter. Hardwoods can be a little bit trickier depending on the size of the crown and the size of the limbs that you're cutting off. One key component of delimbing trees is that you want to do most of your delimbing work from one side of the log. You do not want to stand across the log, you want to have both feet either to the left or the right of the log, and then you work from that side only, and you start typically at the butt end of the log or of the tree, and then work your way up towards the top. When you're cutting larger branches, so something larger than 2 inches in diameter or so, I like to cut them about 2 feet away from the stem, cut them off so they fall down, and then all I need to cut is these short little stubs that are right next to the main log. And what that allows me to do is to create a cleaner walking surface for myself to walk up and down that log as I'm delimbing. When you are cutting large branches, there's a technique called a snap cut or an overlap cut or shelf cut that you can easily use to make a little cut on the compression side and then finish your cut with about a 1 to 2 inch offset on the tension side, and then your branch will basically snap off and break off in a safe manner without pinching your saw. When you start delimbing, you want to start delimbing all the non-weight bearing limbs first. So all the limbs that you see behind me that are just sticking out from the main stem and they're easy to cut. Save all the load-bearing branches for later when you can actually see them and you can assess the stresses in those branches. Load-bearing branches are typically the ones that the log or the tree is sitting on top of, the ones that are like already pushed into the dirt and they're like under a lot of stress and they may be bent. When you have all the branches cut that you can reach from your position, then it is time to turn the tree over to get access to the branches that are on the other side. The easiest way of doing that is using a log PV or a log turner to take the log, rotate it over, and then finish cutting the branches on the other side. So we just finished delimbing this pine tree. One thing to take note of is that you should be using your chain brake frequently. Why? As you're walking along the bole or the main stem of the tree that you're delimbing, chances are you get tangled up and you trip on the branches that are either still on the ground that are attached to the main stem or the branches that you just cut off. To avoid that, engage the chain brake, make your 1 or 2 steps forward. Once you have good footing again, disengage the chain brake and continue cutting and delimbing your main stem.